Guys, I think what I wanted to do, I've been, if you guys didn't know, I've been playing a ton of Battleground Blitz lately. It's been super fun for me. So I've been trying to queue every night. Sometimes the queues are a little bit slow, but I think it's actually a really fun game mode. I think a lot of people give up because I feel like the MMR and CR system is a little weird where you gain rating really, really slow, but you gain MMR really high. So you get caught in this weird situation where you're playing a 3,000 rated MMR game, but you're 1,600. And you have to do that over and over and over and over. And it feels really unsatisfying to basically gain no rating. And I think it's a huge turnoff for a lot of people. But I want to do a tier list of the different maps. So let me just quickly rename this one. This one is not in play. So these are some of the maps that are not in play right now. So obviously we don't have Wintergrass. We don't have Seething Sore. We don't have Ashran, Alterac Valley, or Isle. We do have Deepwind Gorge, Silver Shard Mines, Eye of the Storm, Arathi Basin, Temple, Isle, Twin Peaks, and Warsong Gulch. So the one we do not have, just for the purpose of this video, guys, we're going to make Isle the new BG. Okay, the new BG, which you guys gotta remember, Deepcap Ravine. So Isle is Deepcap Ravine for the purposes of this video, okay? For the purposes of this video, Isle is Deepcap Ravine. So I think the first thing I want to say about the Battleground Blitz maps is I think the Battleground Blitz rule set is just better than normal Battlegrounds, just 100%. I actually think the old Battlegrounds should just be thrown out. It might be an extreme opinion, but I feel like playing random Battlegrounds and having it be a different rule set than Blitz, especially a worse rule set, in my personal opinion, I don't like it. I feel like all the Blitz maps are just better than the traditional Battlegrounds. I genuinely think that. So I would like that to be updated. But anyways, let's get into this really quick, and I'll give you guys my favorite maps and why they're my favorite maps, and some maps that I think could even be better. So in no particular order, let's start off with Isle of Gilneas. So my biggest thing with Isle of Gilneas is I feel like you get locked into a team fight, which is not my favorite. The maps where basically there's a big 7 versus 7 Zerg most of the time, and you just sit there and team fight, and then one team gets it, and then it's really easy to defend. I don't love that. So I think Isle for Gilneas is probably one of my least favorite maps. I would say it's a C tier map. I think it's a solid C tier. I won't put it a D tier, but overall, it's personally not my favorite to play. Typically, the way it plays out is you have a good defender on both sides who's not going to get ninja'd on, and then you just have a big fight, and whoever wins that fight is normally massively advantaged, or there's like some sort of like cheese strategy going on with like an outlaw rogue getting there really fast. It's not my favorite. I feel like they should add something to this map to bring your attention away from the 3 nodes. I don't really know. I'm not a designer, but I do think there's something they could do to this map to make it slightly more interesting. All right, my first S tier map. Actually, S tier. Yeah, I like this. I actually will put Silver Shard Mines as an S tier map, or at least A or S. It's one of my favorite maps. As a general rule for myself, I told you some of the things I don't like about bad maps. One of the things I really like about a map like Silver Shard Mines is it has an inevitable conclusion. Like, no matter what happens, there's no stalemates. The game will end. You know what I mean? You have these carts, they're moving, no matter what, somebody's gonna get a score, and the game's not gonna go on for a really, really long period of time. I think it's a really intense map. It requires rotation. It requires a lot of teamwork and strategy. I'm a big fan of it. So that's why I think Silver Shard Mines, at the very least, is an A tier map. Very good. Let's go with Arathi Basin. I think with the changes to the rule set, it's similar to Silver Shard Mines. I like the maps where there's an inevitable conclusion. I think the change they made to Arathi Basin, where you basically have these little skirmishes all throughout the map, is really fun. So you basically cap a node, the node converts, you get points from it, and then you need to turn your attention to a different node, and the whole game you need to rotate. So you need to coordinate with your team to rotate around the map, pick up those nodes. And I think it's fun. I think like the lumber mill play where you're trying to knock each other off is interesting, depending on what classes you are. I like that. You know, down at the mine quite often, you have these like 3 versus 3 only DPS fights or 2 versus 2 only DPS fights. I have classes like rogues that are constantly trying to ninja and you have to keep eyes on them. I think it's a fun map. So I'll put Arathi Basin at a... I'm going to put it at A tier. I think it's an A tier map. Now, I'm going to put Twin Peaks and Warsong Gulch in the same category. Both of them are going to go to B tier for me. Both of those are going to go for a B tier for me. And the reason why I think Twin Peaks and Warsong Gulch are B tier is because they're very comp reliant. I think if any team has a rogue and a Mistweaver Monk, you already have such a massive advantage. It's absurd. So I don't know. I don't really know what they need to do about that, but whenever I play these maps, a lot of the time it feels like the game is just decided in the starter room who has a better Mistweaver or who has no Mistweaver, who has a Subtlety Rogue. If both teams have a Mistweaver, or both teams do not have a Mistweaver, and both teams have a Sub-Rogue, or both teams do not have a Sub-Rogue, then I think it can make for some really, really interesting gameplay. And it's one of the most classic, traditional maps. I really like Warsong, and I really like Twin Peaks. I think Capture the Flag is fun. You get to use lots of utility, and I just think it's really imbalanced. It's one of the more imbalanced maps, in my opinion, if you do not have you know, the right people going after bases. Rogues destroy most map comp balance, I think. They do, yeah. Rogues are overpowered. Rogues are absolutely overpowered in this game mode. 100%. So are Mistweaver Monks. There's just no doubt about it. They're just really, really strong. I'm not saying they should be nerfed. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying they're OP. They are. All right. I don't even think anyone would disagree with that. Temple of Kotmogu. This is personally my favorite map. I love this map. And one of the reasons why I like this map so much is it's like the antithesis of dampening. It's the opposite of that. The whole game, people are just getting one shot. You're encouraged to pick up these nodes. It's very fast paced. You need really good rotation. You need to kite. You need to peel for your team. Like, it's a really, really interesting map to me. Like, you can really be a hero on this map if you're in the right place at the right time, saving your cooldowns to one-shot the orbs. Like, you have good kiting and CC ability. This is a very fun map, and it's personally my favorite map. Whenever I get Temple of Kotmogu, I'm very excited. 0 to 10, you think so? You don't like this map, huh? Well, I do, so I'm putting it there. This is my tier list, and I'm explaining exactly why I think these maps are good and bad. So many pre-mades ruined the fun on that map for me. Well, you guys remember, remember that this is Battleground Blitz. I'm not talking about pre-mades. I'm talking about basically the solo, or if you're lucky enough to queue with a healer, the duo Battleground Blitz. There's no pre-mades in this one. Super fun. Picking up orbs as the main objective, causing the huge amount of defensive abilities to be irrelevant, is my main gripe. Yeah, it is weird. There's some inconsistencies there. Like, why can you disperse? Why can you disperse in Cloak of Shadows, but you can't use Divine Shield? I don't know. It's weird, but it's a thing. So, next up we have Eye of the Storm. Personally, Eye of the Storm is the worst map. Yeah, I think it's the worst map. The rule set doesn't even really make too much sense for me. So if you guys don't play Battleground Blitz, basically the way it works is you have the bottom left and top right base up at the same time and a flag in the middle. When you get the flag, you honestly, you don't even want to cap it. The main strategy that high-rated players do is, outside of ninjing bases, which is rare, it only happens if people make mistakes, you team fight in the middle, you get the flag, and you just park it on your side of the map the entire game. And as that flag stays, stacks get higher and higher, which means you take more and more damage. And it gets to the point where the flag is so toxic, you can't, even if you kill the enemy, like let's say someone picks up the flag, they run to their base, they stall, and you kill them, you actually can't return the flag. Because if you pick it up, you just die instantly, and then you spawn a million miles away. So it's the weirdest map. I don't like it. I think what they need to do is they need to They need to make it so the bases rotate on a timer. I think. Like you shouldn't be... It shouldn't be a benefit to just sit there on the flag the whole game. I think that's terrible. I think the bases need to rotate on a timer. That way when you get the flag, it actually feels good to cap it. And it makes a lot more sense to me. The current rule set is the worst of all the maps. And it's also super weird. I was telling my streamers, it feels really weird where like you grab a base and then you grab the flag and you're actually doing the wrong thing by capping it. It's bad to cap it. So I don't like this map for me. I don't think you should be incentivized to sit on the flag. That's exactly right. Deepwind Gorge. I think it's a fun map. I actually really like Deepwind Gorge. Ever since they changed it, it's very similar to Arathi Basin to me. I'm going to say it's an A tier map. The only thing I don't like about Deepwind Gorge is the stalemate in the middle. So what a lot of teams and players will do is they'll send like some sort of melee DPS, an Unholy DK, a warrior, and a healer, and you just sit there the whole game and just spin around in circles. It's really boring. I don't know what they could do about that, but it's really, really silly to just have a stalemate in the middle of the map for most of the game. At least that's the games that I've played. It's like you have DPS and maybe a healer rotating the top 2 bases and the bottom 2 bases, and you're fighting for those, and it's really fun if you're a part of that. But if you're just sitting in the middle, spinning the flag for literally the whole BG, very boring. You put mines in A tier, in my mind, it's straight C. I think it's great. I love Silver Shard mines. Deepwind is by far the worst. It's F tier. I don't agree. I feel like, for me, Arathi Basin and Deepwind Gorge are very similar. I don't know. I think you have... If you're gonna put Deepwind Gorge in F tier, then you'd have to put Arathi Basin in F tier. And if not, I'd like to know why. You think most people agree Mines is terrible? Really? I like it. I like it a lot, actually. I think it's super fun. Just joined. I'd love to hear the love for Kotmogu. Easily the best CG ever made. Mines is fun. Deepwind is tolerable on Blitz because of the ride speed, and randoms is the worst. I'm not talking about randoms, guys. This is specifically Battleground Blitz. So if you guys don't play Blitz and you're like, I don't like these maps in normal BGs, it's a completely different rule set. So yeah, it's a completely different game. So if you're like, yeah, this map sucks, and I play random BGs, you might be right. It's completely different. And then last and certainly not least is the new Battleground. It says Isle, but once again, this is the Deepwind Ravine. Deepwind Ravine is the new map of the expansion. And it's cool. It basically has a gem right in the middle of the map. You have carts that allow you to rotate really quickly from one side of the map to the other. Both team gets a cart you have to defend. There is a big team play element in the middle. The one thing I don't like about this map is it's very snowbally because of the way the res timer works. It's a really long res. And it seems like if you get wiped in the middle, it can be really, really difficult to recover. If you like a couple people die, they res, and then a few more people die, it can be really, really tough. So I feel like this map can be super snowbally, but in general, I think it's a really fun map. You have to pay attention to the crystal in the middle of the map. You have to pay attention to the carts. You have to pay attention to, you know, actually landing killing blows. And it's one of my favorite maps. So I think I actually might put it at S tier. What do you guys think? I'm going to use the chat, phone a friend. Do you guys think it's S tier or A tier? What would you guys say? Besides the bugs, like I know there's bugs with the map, but the actual design of the map, if it wasn't buggy, Deepal is S tier. S, it's your favorite? I agree, it's S tier. So, in conclusion, I give a very thorough explanation as to why I think what I think. My favorite maps are Temple, Deepal Ravine. My second favorite maps are Silver Shard Mine, Arathi Basin, Deepwind Gorge. The flag carrying maps I think are solid, but really imbalanced. And then I think the worst maps are Battle for Gilneas and Eye of the Storm is by far the worst map. Do any of you guys totally disagree with something I've said here? I would love to know. Is there anything here you guys totally disagree with? Like you think I'm out to lunch with my explanation? I actually want to know. Gilneas is awesome. Really? Mines is Garbanzo. It seems like the biggest contentions here are people don't like mines that much, and people do like Battle for Gilneas. Why is Temple that good? Because, like I said, it's the antithesis of like dampening. You are always encouraged to get kills. You're always encouraged to be at the right place at the right time and pick up orbs. I feel like anyone can be a hero on this map. It's really fun. There's lots of classes that are super good. I think Gilneas should be higher. Team fight strat is one strat, but I feel like the map can be won in some clever ways. Yeah, it can, but most of the time I feel like it's just a massive mistake. So like, the way I see Battle for Gilneas is you are right. You can win outside of just the big team fight, but quite often that's just somebody misplaying really hard. Whereas like on the other maps, it's not necessarily like that, you know? Because I feel like a defender and a good rotator should basically never get capped on, almost ever. All right, there it is, Battleground Blitz. If you guys haven't played it, I highly recommend you do try it out. There are some issues with it, but it's really fun. It's a really fun and refreshing, much different than Arena, and I've been enjoying it. So